everybody, No here, bringing you the first installment in my replay analysis YouTube series. I'm going to be doing this live on one take, so I'm prone to mess up or say something strange, or might be weird noises. I'm going to be adjusting the sound levels and stuff, trying to figure out a good way to make this happen. This game is going to be a Jungle Riven, and submitted to me by Just Omnic here. Let me see. This is going to be a replay, and
30 seconds until minions
it's just a level 30, so it's an unranked game. There's no ELO to it. And one of the things that screams to me, I watched this replay already, is, and I've noticed this in a couple other replays I've gotten, the farm on this game is awful. It's really bad. You need to know how to farm, because farm is the most important thing in this game. You could be the best player ever, you could have the best reaction time, you can make great plays, but if you're going to do that and not have the farm to back up your character, you're going to end up being useless in the end anyway. And we're going to see that here. This Riven makes some pretty good plays, but in the end she doesn't get enough farm from the jungle or from lanes, and her lane mates don't get farm, the opposing team doesn't get farm, so she really just ends up falling farther and farther behind, because most of the damage is being dealt on base damage, which is not really impressive. So she's going to start red here and start Doran's Blade. It's a pretty good start on Riven. There's nothing to really complain about there. She's able to do that. It makes her a strong level 2 gank if you're able to go and do level 2. I would personally have done Wraiths first, but and have Xerath blast them again with his lightning. But it doesn't really matter too much. It's kind of a technicality. One thing that you should note as Jungle Riven is that when you have your Doran's Blade start, you're going to lose a lot of your early life, so you're not able to gank too well. So she's just going to keep jungling. I'm going to just blast through this here really quick. Alright, now here looks like you're going to move bottom lane for a gank. Pull this off. Now bottom lane is extended pretty far. They don't have a ward. It was a really good play with the Blitzcrank grab and then the pickup here on Blitzcrank. But one thing you didn't really take into account is that this Sona has 42 AP. There's a double support bottom, but if you look, Blitzcrank started with a mana crystal and a potion. Sona started with a Doran's ring and 42 AP, which means that she's running pure AP runes. So you need to take that into consideration when you go and gank anywhere, because you can't just go into things blind and just do a lot of damage if you're going to take a ton. So support Sona is not the case this game. And you're going to see this a few times where you go bottom lane and this Sona is just going to blast your life away. So your mid lane also died. I don't think it's too much of a big deal. Top lane's stalemated right now. So again, I'm just going to continue to blast through this here. Most people don't watch this to watch you jungle. So bottom lane has died again. You're going to come mid here. And then you reconsider, because Kennan's playing really safe, so you move up top, which is fine. Top's being ganked by Shaco right now. Nocturne is actually starting to dip a little bit low in life, but you don't swing around on the Yorick just yet. I think you probably could have run in and done a little damage, but it would have been a little more risky. What I would have done right here is run up into the brush on the top and waited for Shaco to leave, and then come down on top of Yorick. Now right now Shaco's pretty much here because you're here. I think a few times he's like pump faked to leave the lane, but didn't because you were still in the lane. So I would have moved up quickly into the brush so they didn't see you. Hopefully Shaco would have left, and if anything you would have done the exact same thing you would have done now, but you would have potential to jump onto Yorick. So that's just a minor thing you could have done. If you went up into that brush, you could have either harassed him out of the lane or picked up a kill. And again, worst case, you would have just picked up the farm you were going to get anyway. So here you can see that Yorick still in lane. You come around on him. This is pretty good of you. This is a good tactic here. You want to try to just lay down some harassment. You don't go crazy. You don't jump through the tower. You don't take a whole bunch of damage. But now Yorick has to either leave the lane or he's in danger of living. Now right there, I wouldn't blame Nocturne. Looks like you did by saying Noc for not coming on that. To be honest, if Nocturne had come, he may have gotten a slight bit more damage. Maybe have gotten a summoner, but Nocturne just died, and he has 31 farm, which is okay, but he wants more minion kills than the opportunity to maybe kill someone. So you're going to just resume to jungling here, and I see you're going to swing around bottom lane. Now, bottom lane's being overly aggressive. Again, they're not warding, which, if you were playing someone with a little bit of a stronger gap closer, it would be pretty awesome, like Lee Sin, for example. But right there you used your E to accidentally go into a wall, which wasn't great. I think you should pretty much save your E for jukes. And here, for whatever reason, you started to kill Blitzcrank, and then pulled off Blitzcrank, maybe to let Vayne secure that kill. But overall, you're Riven. You're going to snowball harder than Vayne, so don't worry about that. Here you get aggressed on at the tower, and they're going to end up diving you. I believe you pick up a kill on Shaco and Blitzcrank gets out. Now while you did pick up a kill, you still died. So it probably would have been best if you just left altogether. They weren't going to take that tower. It's not really in danger. It would have taken some hits, don't get me wrong, but it wouldn't have gone down. Your bottom lane would have gotten there in time, and you wouldn't have died, more importantly. So Kennan's moved from mid to top. Xerath did not follow at first. He is now, but now kind of doesn't matter. But since this is mostly a commentary on your play, you're going to continue to jungle, which is great. You need your farm. But you go again bottom lane. Now bottom lane is in trouble. They're getting their asses kicked by this AP Sona here. They're letting themselves get harassed. And it looks like they did ward and see you coming. So you come in on them. Again, I don't agree with your usage of your E. You should pretty much use it to counter any jukes they have. And right there, you guys really just don't respect the amount of damage they have on bottom lane right now. So let's look at it. And they end up picking up a triple kill. So without those 3 kills, Sona has 1 kill, 30 farm, and Blitzcrank has his tier, and a silence, AoE silence with 3 kills. So it's not like they have a massive damage output. However, Sona with Sorcerer's Shoes and double rings puts her around, like here, 90 AP, and she has her ultimate, and her Q is going to do a lot of damage because she's level 7. So it's pretty much just going to blast your team, which is exactly what happened. You walked in, and they just crushed you guys. And that's all really because you're just not respecting the amount of damage they can output. They can throw down a silence, and I mean, it doesn't matter if you can do a lot with your skills. If you're silenced and also stunned, which is what happened, you're not going to do a lot of damage. So here you're going to come top. It doesn't seem that he's warding, which is, again, foolish. I can tell that this is kind of a lower level 30 game. People aren't warding, people aren't farming. I mean, you're 11 minutes in and the max farm is 49. It should be something like 70 or 100. And while you think that doesn't matter, that extra farm is actually several kills. So think, you know, how much gold you get from a creep and multiply that to get to around 300. And if you're missing, you know, a bunch of creeps, you know, every 2 or 3 waves is a kill. So if they're missing 2 or 3 waves, they're missing kills. Now right here, I'm going to pause it. What you're doing right now is really risky. Now why? Well, you're counter jungling, which is fine. The problem is, Yorick went MIA from top with full life. You didn't just drive him out of lane, he just simply left his lane. The second problem is, Shaco, who's their jungler, is completely missing, and you have no idea where he is. The third problem is, right here in mid, Kennan's already on his tower, and I almost guarantee he's near full life as well. So right now, you're coming in to take their blue, which is admirable. However, you're not taking into consideration what's happening on the map, in that top is missing, mid can be there within 10 seconds, and also their jungler's missing. So, if someone shows up, or if they're already here, you're going to be screwed because all of your escape paths are covered, and that's not mentioning that Shaco can probably CC you with either boxes or his slow on his Shiv in order to prevent you from getting out. So this is a really risky move, and I don't think you should have done this at all. We're going to pretty much see why, and it wasn't just trying to set this up. You notice here, Shaco is taking someone's blue, probably from a kill. So he's giving it here to Yorick, which is the reason why Yorick wasn't there. You get continually CC'd and slowed, despite making a pretty good juke. Nocturne comes in to help you, and right here you should have pretty much just thrown your ultimate back. Like that. I don't think you needed to land the stun. You probably would have been better served to save your stun, and you would have been farther away from that fight so that when Shaco warped towards you, you could have E'd away, which is another thing you didn't do there. You would have lived if you had used your E to shield yourself from his Shiv. So a couple things there. You put yourself in a dangerous position. You made a pretty good escape, but you endangered both your mid and top laner by having them come. And then when you went to leave, you could have definitely done it better by just throwing damage in so that Nocturne could pick up a quick kill instead of trying to kill steal it. And then you also could have used your E to live through that. Now bottom lane just went down, and again, you're going to your blue because you think that your jungle is safe. However, when you don't have lane control, your lanes are not safe. So because Nocturne came bottom, you're able to pick up a kill on Blitzcrank. If Nocturne weren't there, you wouldn't. But you need to really watch once your lane goes down, especially immediately after your lane goes down, because the enemy is going to enter your jungle in most situations. Their typical path, and I'll break away here, typical path from that is they go take this tower, and then they go where Nocturne and Blitzcrank are going, and then up here. But if you come up here, you can see the vision's going to grant you that blue vision. So you need to be careful of that, because if they see your blues up, and you know your blues up because of the timers, they're going to end up taking your blue, and you're going to enter a really dangerous situation. Here again, you're putting your life in danger for pretty much no reason at all. Blitzcrank almost saved you, but if Blitzcrank weren't there, you were 100% dead from that cannon. You could have simply just not been there. I know that good things kind of came from that. We did pick up the kill on Kennen. You chased away Shaco, but you stayed there with no life, continued to stay there with no life, and then fought when you had no life. It wasn't even you ran from Kennen, or you juked away from his ultimate, or whatever else. You put yourself in a dangerous situation, and then continued to stay in that situation as opposed to retreating and keeping yourself alive. So right now you do a good amount of damage, but you're 3 levels below where you want to be. And I mean 2 to 3 levels below where you want to be, and you're just level 7. I mean, Nocturne's 10 and Xerath is 10. You should be on the order of your solo laners. Not until they get to like 17 or 18 should you be 2 to 3 levels behind, and that's only if you've been really active. And if you notice, you only have 32 farm right now. Now, farm works a little bit differently in the jungle, but it's still extremely important. You should have probably more like 70. Now, that's an additional kill or 2, especially considering the way the jungle creeps are. Some of them grant more gold, such as red buff and blue buff. So if you had been farming a little better, you would essentially be 6 and 5 now, instead of 4 and 5. And what that's going to do is that's going to give you your Mercury Treads, or just additional damage. Now here you guys get engaged on by Blitzcrank. It was a good move by him. Yorick tries to take out Blitz, and Blitz manages to stay alive until Shaco comes back. You guys take down Yorick. This team fight pretty much went by the books. This is a good move by you, dashing back in and landing your stun. And again, this is a good play by you. You knew your cooldowns, whether by coincidence or whatever else, but you were able to get in there and take down Kennen, almost take down Blitzcrank, live to tell the tale, and you're going to defend this fight. So that team fight went pretty well for you. And Blitzcrank is a complete idiot here. I have no idea why he did that. But hey, it's another kill for you. So I think if you had that extra, at this point, maybe like 40, 50, 60 farm, you would be about 10 and 5 right now. And that's just to put it into terms that a lot of people will understand, because 10 and 5 is good, 7 and 5 is okay, 4 and 5 is kind of bad, because then you're giving your team a lot of kills. Overall, you don't want 5 deaths. Now, sometimes it's unavoidable, but you don't want that many deaths. So here you're going to enter the fight. I think right there you popped your ultimate a little early. You also shot it at Shaco. Knowing that Shaco has an escape mechanism, you shouldn't have done that. And this might be nitpicking, but the overarching reason that you guys lose this game is farm. So the only thing I can really say, aside from learn how to last hit or farm better, is the nitpicking stuff. Nocturne has a good ultimate here. You guys are just continuing to take people down in this tower. Shaco takes down your Blitzcrank, and there's a double Blitzcrank battlefield here. You had a pretty good dive there to pick up Yorick. You turn back to take the tower. That's a good thing. Good play on your part. Now, you do still get, I believe your passive does hit towers. So you could be, like, attack Q. At minimum, it auto-attack resets, which is faster than your attack damage. So you could be, like, hit Q, and it would have taken the tower down faster. Now, it almost mattered there. Sona caught you right as you guys went down this tower. So you guys are going to jump on Sona here. It was a good move. Overall, she ends up escaping. It was good escape route by her path. She comes in, Xerath picks her up right here. It was a good play by you guys, though, for you to come up and then turn back and stick around for that fight. It was really good awareness of Vayne and how much damage you can output and everything along those lines. So you're going back to farming, which is great. I wish you'd do it more often, but unfortunately, what happens oftentimes at lower levels is there's just constant fighting and bloodbath, and just all like fighting, which makes it really hard as a jungler, because you want to be in the fights to help your team, but at the same time you need to be able to farm your lanes. You'll notice at the higher levels that most people stick to their lanes, they pick up their CS, they pick up their farm in order to be really good during the mid and late game, and only a few mid and early game plays are had. That's not really the case this time, and I've certainly had games like this where you're behind in farm, behind in levels, but you have a bunch of kills and a bunch of deaths because there's just constant fighting. So again, constant fighting here in the mid. They're continuing to fight in the mid. Sona's hitting pretty hard at this point. So you guys move up to defend this tower. You move in on Sona, which is fine. You take a lot of poke damage. You probably could have just not done that. They were backing off anyway because the creeps weren't there. So you end up taking almost half of your life in harassment damage, and didn't do anything but jump at people and laugh. You're going to pick up your race, which is good. When you do this, you're able to go and get some farm while still being close enough to join the fight if necessary. Blitzcrank missed a hook that would have 100% killed Vayne. But they're just harassing at this tower. And if you're going to hop into something, knowing that Blitzcrank's grab is down, that was the time to hop at people and then hop backwards. And then gotten out before his grab came back off cooldown. Because that when they had 3 minions on the tower, you could have pushed them back a little bit. So they're going to continue to pressure this tower. It's not necessarily a great idea for them. Your top lane is pushing, their bottom lane is stalemated, so they're kind of losing out on this. But Blitzcrank lands a good grab, Sona picks up a kill, so they're no longer losing out on it. It was worth it for them now. And they're going to dive you on this turret. Right there you got your ultimate off before you died, which is great, and I believe Nocturne comes in and just cleans a lot of this up. No, never mind, he gets pushed back out. So, moving on, they're going to continue to linger around in middle. They're going to take your turret, and again, they're still in middle. So they're continuing to pressure this middle tower. Your top lane's no longer pushing, and you're resuming farm, which is good. Here, your Vayne and Nocturne get caught out of position in your jungle. The team knew that everybody was grouped together and running. So going into the jungle was a really bad idea. And they made sure that they all die here by diving you on your turret as 4. So you end up picking up a whole bunch of kills here, which is great, because for whatever reason they decided to have a team fight on top of a tower, which just dealt crazy damage to everybody involved and really took the focus off of you. So that was a good play on your part to fight them on your tower, and I think that was pretty critical in trying to get you guys back into this game. Those 4 kills actually put you from 26-26 to 30-26, so it puts you ahead a little bit. But you guys are still really behind in farm. I mean, right now the maximum farm in the game is 98, and you're 23 minutes in. It should be like 220. And that, I mean, that would make your Xerath, that would make him from 8-5 to like 15 or 16 or 20 and 5. It's that much of a difference. He would have a death cap right now. If you had more than 62 farm, maybe like 100 or 120. As a jungler, you'll have a little less. But they're not taking the farm in the lane, so if you had taken the farm in the lanes as well, you'd have 150 farm, say, and you might have a Warmogs at this point. So I'm going to reiterate this again and again, because the reason this game is lost is not bad decision making, it's not out of positioning for the most part. A lot of it, the majority of it, is going to be your farm. You need farm. Necessary. Even if your lanes aren't taking it, take it yourself. If you're able to have that much more farm, especially if the enemy's this low in farm, you're just going to be way ahead. Now here, that was just a really, really bad decision. You saw the entire team move up into that jungle section, and even though you're full life and 12 and 6 at that point, you ran into 5 people. Knowing that they were there, you saw them pull out and away, and you ran in and fought them anyway. So they're going to pressure this tower here. Xerath lands some good damage on them with his ultimate. He should have stayed a little further out of range, but he's doing some good poke damage. You can see Blitzcrank's waiting, but you guys had vision on him, so you pulled him through the wall. That's fine. But really, the reason right there that you lost, you, Nocturne, and Vayne, is because you swung around and started a fight with people, and your teammates thought it was fight time, and it was really just a bad engage. So you gotta be careful when you do stuff like that. Don't just walk somewhere because it's on your side of the map. You knew the team was there. You knew that they were trying to pressure that, maybe even circle around your race to get you at the front of that tower, or at the base of your tower, right around in here. So don't let yourself get fallen into that trap. So everything moves on from here. I believe you guys catch Shaco here. You take, you end up taking down Shaco. You move out of tower range, which is a good idea because their team is right there. And you guys are going to wait for your minions to come in. Blitzcrank landed a solid grab. That was a great grab by him through the minions. But then Yorick comes. You guys are taking a lot of damage from Sona right now. She has 425 AP and a Void Staff. So she is chunking you guys right now. And her AoE damage, she's dealing damage to 2 people at a time. And also getting damage from her passive. And also getting from her ultimate when that happens. So you're going to see this a little bit later in these fights. The amount of AoE they have is really going to cut you guys down. Because they're able to use a Sona ultimate AoE, a Kennen ultimate AoE, and a Blitzcrank ultimate AoE in order to just rip you guys to shreds. So luckily she missed her ultimate there. Didn't hit anybody, which was great for you guys. You ended up picking up a kill. You didn't lose anyone. It's a good play. Your Vayne is pushing out for some reason. Blitzcrank decided to pretty much kill himself by hooking someone. The other team didn't really take advantage of it and kill him instantly, but he could have absolutely died instantly. And right now you guys are just posturing around. You're way too low life to be doing what you're doing right now. I mean, even with your shield, it was a good flash and stun on your part, but you really should have let someone like Nocturne do that, because your Nocturne right now has a Frozen Mallet and a Bloodthirster, and he was full life. So he would have been able to go right in and pretty much not die from that. And again, you're low life. You do have 700 life, so it's not like you're at 200. But you have to realize the damage output of the other team. especially Sona right now, because she's the strongest on their team, I believe. Shaco also has an Infinity Edge, does a lot of damage. You were just fighting a Kennen clone, which isn't going to do you anything. You're not going to get anything for killing a clone, but he could have killed you if he was good enough with his skills. He could have EWQ, stunned you, done something aside from just auto attack. I think he might have been confused that he was resurrected or something along those lines. But again, the theme of this game is unnecessary risk. And what you're doing is you're putting yourself in situations that really just allow you to fail. And then it's happening. So sometimes it's going to pay off. You may have played some games where, hey, you know what, it really worked this time, me jumping in, initiating that fight. Like, if you were to look at this on a replay and go, you know what, I was low life, but I flashed in, I landed a stun on 2 characters, and we picked up a kill, we won the team fight, whoop-de-doo. If the enemy team had farm, or if the enemy team were more coordinated, you flashing in and stunning would have meant instant death. So yes, you would have gotten the stun off, but you would have been toasted. You would have been absolutely shredded instantly. So they're continue to pressure mid here. Xerath is putting himself way out of position by being in the front of the fight, which is really your and Nocturne's job to be in the front of the fight, not Xerath's job. So Sona lands a good ultimate here on Vayne, who's again out of position. She is not supposed to be in the front of the fight at all. Nocturne puts himself a little bit out of position by jumping into the middle of all of those people, and then Yorick and Kennen come back around from being MIA and pretty much clean this fight up. So here, I don't know why you ran back in. You were pretty much dead anyway, but it's not like you just landed a stun or tried to take down someone low. You just walked back towards them. That's just a minor thing. You were pretty much done. So the next thing you're going to be doing is you guys kind of start to slowly lose your team fights from here on out. Despite it being an even game, kills-wise and actually tower-wise, you guys are symmetric on the tower. Oh no, they have 1 tower on you. Alright, so another thing I want to point out right now is your item progression. You have a Maw of Malmortis, you have 116 magic resistance and Merc Treads, which is good. They have AP, he does AP damage, he's not necessarily AP, he's more hybrid. So Blitzcrank, their Sona has a ton of AP, their Yorick doesn't do much AP at all, and they have AD here. But their 2 major components here are going to be your Sona damage and your Kennen damage, which is all of their AoE. Now, AoE things are something you need to resist in order to live through fights and actually tell the tale. So instead of going a Warmogs, which is a good investment, or maybe even instead of a Maw of Malmortis, or however you say that, you probably should have just picked up a Negatron Cloak. Or just a Hex Drinker and a Negatron Cloak instead of finishing out the Maw. You really want magic resistance. Now, they have a lot of physical damage. There's an Infinity Edge and a Yorick with Trinity Force, and both Blitzcrank and Shaco has Sheen, so they can do a lot of physical damage. But the thing is, physical damage is usually not burst damage or AoE damage. You don't see AoE physical. So here, look, you get absolutely shredded by the AoE magical damage. Shredded. You have magic damage, magic damage, magic damage, magic damage, magic damage. You've only taken 600 physical damage compared to all of the rest of your life in magical AoE damage. If you were able to live through that AoE, like, magic damage, you could probably have done better in that fight. I'm not going to say that you would have lived. You got pulled in the center of 5 people, but you would have lived longer. Right now you're building sort of like life and a whole bunch of life, and you have no real resistances. 100 resistance isn't, 112 is not tanky for late game. 200 is pretty tanky for late game. So if you had gone something like, instead of Maw, you would have gone Negatron Cloak, Chain Armor, and Warmogs. Right now you'd be sitting at like 170 of each, which would really put you a little further ahead in terms of tankiness. And also, if you were keeping up with your farm, and you were at more like 180 instead of 82, you would have more levels, you'd have more tankiness, you'd have more damage, you'd have more everything. So here, you're just going to keep taking damage from their team. You end up to get out in a timely way. Your team pushes them out of the base. But at this point, you guys pretty much lost the game. Now, why is that? Well, you lost the game because even if you can win a team fight, you have 2 inhibitors down. It's not impossible to come back when you have inhibitors. And if you land a really good team fight, like right here, like in the middle center lane of them, you might be able to get in and take the game if you guys are quick enough to do it. However, right now, you guys are playing defense. They're all alive. They're all buying more items. They picked up Baron. So their team is considerably ahead right now. Considerably. They have 2 towers on you. They have... they have 4 towers on you, 2 inhibitors on you, a Baron on you, and I don't even know if anybody took Dragon this game. So their team is markedly ahead of you right now. It's not so far ahead that you can't catch someone out of position and win a team fight, but right now if you enter into a team fight, you're going to lose it because they're really far ahead, even if the kills aren't that far ahead. So you're going to catch Shaco out of position, which is great. It's great for your team. They still have 2 AoE ultimates to deal with. And that's something that your team's going to struggle with because no one on your team is building much magic resistance. You have no magic resistance on Xerath, none on Nocturne, none on Blitzcrank. Everybody on your team has less than 100 or around 100 magic resistance, which is just not good. So here, you're going to get AoE ultimated, you're going to take a good amount of damage, and then Xerath's going to come in and start laying down some damage. But Yorick is back into the fight now, and his ultimate clone is going to allow him to live through this. Sona has a Zonias, she's able to live through that and heal herself because she's AP. Xerath does take her down, but at this point you guys are even further behind because you've now lost a team fight. And you're all dead except for Nocturne. And Nocturne had to go back and heal. So you guys really just didn't do too much in that fight. And this is another reason why it's really hard to win team fights and win the game after you have inhibitors down. You lost a base turret for having a team fight, and you lost the team fight. Now, if you had crushed the team fight and taken mid tower, mid inhibitor, or and maybe even some of their base towers, it would have absolutely been worth it. But at that point, you guys needed to play a little more defensively because even though you caught Shaco at a position, you weren't really in a position to take a lot of advantage over the game. So you're gonna end up losing your base tower here. Your top tower will probably go down soon enough. And they're just streaming into the base. Now at this point you must play defensively. You have to defend your towers because there's a huge amount of creeps there, which really gives them the upper hand. You have to play defensively again here because they have so much advantage and you guys have so much disadvantage. If you leave your base at all, they're going to take your turret. So here you go to defend top turret, knowing that Shaco is just in your jungle. And again, you go and fight him, knowing that you saw Kennen coming. And if you didn't see those things, you really needed to pay attention. You knew that Shaco was there. You know that Shaco has an Infinity Edge, does a lot of damage. And it would have been fine if you were there to defend the tower and then ran. However, you fought him. You fought him, which was the big mistake. You put yourself in a position for the entire team to come and kill you. Now, Vayne here is making a huge mistake by running through Blitzcrank in order to chase down running through Yorick in order to chase down someone who she's not going to kill. And even if she did land the kill, she was still dead. Xerath lands a good stun here to keep himself alive. Yorick probably could have killed him earlier, but he was on Blitzcrank. And really, this is just it. This seals the deal for the game. It's pretty much over at this point. So you lost because you don't have any farm. I mean, 146 farm after 38 minutes or 37 minutes is absolutely awful. And you lost because nobody on your team really built MR until just now. So your AoE damage, you took a lot from that. You lost the team fights due to it. And overall, you just made some really questionable decisions by putting yourself in risky situations. So try to put yourself in better situations. Think about what you're doing and have some more map awareness, and you'll be able to pull yourself out of games like these. Alright, good luck. Have fun.